The kitchen felt colder than it should have. I stood there, phone buzzing in my hand, watching transaction alerts flood my screen like a digital avalanche. $50,000. Gone. Another $30,000. Gone. The modest inheritance my father left me, the money that was supposed to change our lives, was vanishing in real time. I looked around our small house. Half the closet was empty. Tessa's suitcase, the big one we bought for our honeymoon, was missing. Her makeup bag, her favorite shoes, the framed photo of us from our wedding day, all gone. I called her number. Straight to voicemail. Called again. Nothing. On the counter, propped against the coffee maker, sat a note written in her neat handwriting. "You'll understand someday." That was it. No explanation, no apology, just 7 words that felt like a punch to the gut. My hands started shaking. 3 years of marriage, 5 years together total, and this was how it ended? With empty drawers and a cryptic note? Another alert buzzed. Account balance, $247.83. Everything was gone. My name is Adam Keene. I'm 36 years old, a logistics manager at a shipping company in Columbus, Ohio. Nothing fancy, just steady work that pays the bills. Or used to anyway. My father raised me by himself after Mom passed when I was 12. He taught me to be careful with money, to plan ahead, to think about the future. When he died 6 months ago from a heart attack, I was devastated. But he planned for that too. The inheritance wasn't millions. It was $180,000, money he'd saved over 40 years of working in construction. He left it to me with one purpose: secure your family's future. I remember the will reading. Tessa cried when the lawyer read the amount. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "Your dad loved you so much." I thought those were tears of gratitude. Now I realized they might have been something else entirely. We talked about using the money to pay off our credit cards, fix up the house, maybe start trying for kids. Tessa said we deserved a fresh start. I believed her. I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. It was Tessa's idea to combine everything. "We should put it in our joint account," she'd said one night, curled up beside me on the couch. "It's easier for bills, and it shows we trust each other completely." I'd hesitated. Something in my gut whispered caution, but I ignored it. We were married. Married people shared everything, right? "Are you sure?" I'd asked. She kissed my cheek. "Adam, we're building a life together. This is our money now, not just yours. Don't you trust me?" Of course I trusted her. She was my wife. The next day, we went to the bank together. She held my hand while I signed the papers adding her name to the account. The teller smiled at us like we were the perfect couple. That night, I'd met Miles for drinks at our usual spot. Miles Brennan, my father's lawyer and my best friend since elementary school. We'd grown up playing basketball in his driveway, stayed friends through college, even stood up at each other's weddings. "Don't put everything under both names yet," he'd warned me, stirring his whiskey. "At least wait a few months." "Why?" "We're married." Miles had just looked at me, that lawyer look that said he knew something I didn't. But he didn't push it. I should have listened. 2 weeks after the money transferred, Tessa announced a girls' weekend trip. "Jessica and Amanda are going to Chicago," she said, packing her bag in our bedroom. "Shopping, spa day, the whole thing." I haven't seen them in forever. It seemed sudden, but Tessa had been stressed lately. A weekend away made sense. She kissed me goodbye at the door, sweeter than usual, her hands lingering on my shoulders. "I love you," she said. "You're the best husband ever." "Love you too. Have fun." I watched her drive away, then settled in for a quiet weekend. Pizza, basketball games, maybe finally organized the garage. That night, Miles called. "Hey man, you got a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" There was a pause. "I was looking over some paperwork from your dad's estate, and I noticed a transaction flag. Did Tessa open a new account recently?" My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "A savings account, just in her name. Had a transfer from your joint account last week. $30,000. I sat down hard on the couch. "That's probably just for the house renovations." We talked about setting money aside. "Adam," Miles's voice was gentle. "The account is only in her name. You're not listed." I hung up soon after, my mind spinning. There had to be an explanation. Tessa wouldn't hide money from me. We were partners. But doubt had planted itself, and it was growing fast. When I walked into our bedroom Sunday evening, expecting Tessa home soon, I found silence instead. The room felt different. Wrong. I opened her dresser. Top drawer empty. Second drawer empty. The jewelry box on her nightstand sat open, completely cleaned out except for one thing. Her wedding ring. It sat there on the wooden surface, gold band catching the light, like she'd placed it carefully before leaving. My phone buzzed. Another bank alert. Overdraft warning. I checked the account. She'd made 3 more transfers while I'd been at work Friday. The joint account was drained completely now. Everything my father had saved, everything he'd worked for gone. I called Tessa. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Sent a text. Where are you? No response. I sat on the edge of our bed, the bed we'd picked out together at a furniture store, arguing playfully about firmness levels. The bed where we'd laughed and made plans and talked about baby names. My phone buzzed. Not Tessa. Miles. You need to come see me. Now. His voice was serious. I grabbed my keys and left the empty house behind. Miles's office smelled like leather and old books. He'd built a solid practice over the years, mostly estate planning and family law. His desk was neat, organized, everything in its place. He pushed a folder across the desk toward me. Your father was smarter than you think, Miles said. The inheritance wasn't a simple cash transfer. There's a non-dissipation clause built into the estate distribution. I stared at him. What does that mean? It means if the funds are misused, stolen, or fraudulently taken, they legally revert back to you. Your father put it in place to protect you. Hope flickered in my chest. So I can get it back? If we can prove she took it with intent to defraud you, yes. But we need evidence. Miles leaned forward. Adam, your dad came to me 3 months before he died. He said something felt off about Tessa. He didn't want to interfere, but he wanted to protect you just in case. My throat tightened. Dad had known something was wrong. What do I need to do? Miles smiled. Collect everything. Messages, receipts, bank statements, anything that shows her intentions. We're going to build a case, and we're going to get your money back. For the first time since finding that note, I felt something other than despair. I felt purpose. Back home, I started searching. I didn't know what I was looking for exactly, but I knew Tessa had left clues. She always did. In the junk drawer in the kitchen, beneath old takeout menus and rubber bands, I found her old phone. She'd upgraded 6 months ago and tossed this one in the drawer, planning to recycle it eventually. I charged it, hand shaking. When it powered on, I scrolled through her messages. Most were innocent, work stuff, texts with her sister. Then I found a thread labeled Shane. My stomach dropped. The messages went back 8 months. Flirtatious at first, then explicit. Plans to meet up, always during her work trips or girls' weekends. Can't wait to see you Friday. Adam suspects nothing. Once the money clears, I'm gone. Then we can start fresh. That last message was dated 2 weeks ago, right after we'd combined the accounts. I forwarded everything to my email, my hands moving on autopilot. Screenshot after screenshot, evidence piling up like bricks in a wall. At the bottom of her text drafts, I found one she'd never sent. Once the money clears, I'm gone. She'd planned this. All of it. Monday morning, I went to work like normal. My colleagues whispered when I walked past. News traveled fast in a small office, and I'm sure someone had noticed I looked like hell. You okay, Adam? My supervisor asked during our morning meeting. Fine, I lied. Just dealing with some family stuff. I kept my head down, processed shipment orders, answered emails. On my lunch break, I created a folder on my personal laptop, Tessa Evidence, every text message, every bank transaction, every receipt I could find showing her spending patterns. I organized it chronologically, building a timeline of her deception. At night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the wedding ring on the dresser, the empty closet, the note that said nothing and everything at once. Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Minutes later, I listened to the message. Tessa's voice, sweet and apologetic. Adam, huh? I know you're probably confused. Can we talk? I think there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Like accidentally taking $180,000 was just a simple mistake. I didn't call back. That evening, she called again. This time I answered. Before speaking, I pressed record on my voice memo app. Adam. Her voice was syrupy. Thank God. I've been so worried. I said nothing, just let her talk. Look, I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. I needed some space. Things have been so tense lately, and I just needed to clear my head. Where are you? I asked quietly. I'm staying with a friend. Just for a few days. I think we both need some time to breathe. A friend. Shane, she meant. But I didn't say that. What about the money, Tessa? Pause. Our money is safe. I moved it to a separate account for security. You know, in case something happened to the joint account. Without telling me, I was going to tell you. I just wanted to make sure everything was set up properly first. Every word was a lie, smooth and practiced. She thought I was stupid enough to believe it. That money is our safety net, she continued. For our future. I'm protecting us. Okay, I said simply. She sounded relieved. I'll be home soon, and we can talk about everything properly. I love you, Adam. Sure, I said and hung up. I saved the recording, added it to the evidence folder, and called Miles. Miles ran a background check on Shane. It didn't take long to find what we needed. Shane Holloway, 38, worked in marketing at a tech company. He'd been Tessa's co-worker 3 years ago, before she switched to the dental office. They'd stayed in touch, apparently. But that wasn't the interesting part. Shane had a record. 2 counts of fraud in his 20s, served probation, supposedly cleaned up his act. But Miles found something else. Shane had been involved in a civil suit 5 years ago, accused of convincing his girlfriend to take out a loan and then disappearing with the money. This wasn't spontaneous, Miles said, spreading printouts across his desk. Tessa didn't just run off with your money. This was planned, probably for months. I thought back to when she'd suggested combining accounts. 8 months ago. Right around when those text messages with Shane started. Miles pulled up Shane's social media. Public profiles, not even privacy settings. There posted 2 days ago, a photo of him and Tessa on a beach. Cancun. She was wearing a new bikini, laughing, drinks in hand. The caption, living the dream with my dream girl. He's using your money to finance their vacation, Miles said. I stared at the photo, feeling nothing. The anger had burned through, leaving only cold determination. What's next? I asked. Now we freeze everything. Miles filed the legal paperwork Thursday morning. The non-dissipation clause kicked in, and within hours, a court order froze Tessa's new accounts. Every dollar she'd transferred was now locked, pending investigation. I imagine her in Cancun, trying to buy lunch, her card declining. Then trying the backup card. Declined. Then the third one. Miles called Friday afternoon. It's done. Everything's frozen. She can't touch a cent. I felt a grim satisfaction. That evening, my phone rang. Tessa. I let it ring. She called 6 more times. Finally, a voicemail. Her voice was sharp, angry. What did you do, Adam? My cards aren't working. Did you freeze the accounts? This is insane. Call me back right now. The sweet, apologetic tone was gone, replaced by rage. I texted back one sentence, talk to your lawyer. She called again immediately. I sent it to voicemail. Miles sent me a message. She's panicking. Good. Let her stew. I poured myself a drink and sat on the couch in the quiet house. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The game had shifted. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. Tessa came back early 3 days later. I heard her key in the lock while I was making coffee. She walked into the kitchen, suitcase dragging behind her, makeup smudged, looking exhausted. Adam. Her voice was soft, broken. I'm so sorry. I turned, leaning against the counter. Okay. I made a huge mistake. I panicked, and I just needed space, but I should have talked to you. I'm sorry. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Real tears, I thought, or practiced once. The money's frozen, she said. Can you unfreeze it, please? We need to pay bills. I didn't freeze it, I said calmly. The court did. Her face changed. What court? I shrugged. My lawyer filed paperwork related to my father's estate. There are conditions on the inheritance. What conditions? Ask your lawyer, I said again. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Why are you being like this? Like what? Cold. Distant. This isn't you. I took a sip of my coffee. Maybe you never really knew me. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen, then declined the call. Shane, probably. I'm staying at my sister's for a while, I said. You can have the house. Adam, please. I'll be in touch through Miles, I said, and walked past her toward the door. She didn't stop me. Living at my sister's place was quiet. She didn't ask too many questions, just gave me the guest room and space to think. Meanwhile, Tessa started unraveling. My neighbor texted me, your wife was yelling in the driveway today. Everything okay? A coworker mentioned seeing her at a coffee shop, arguing on the phone. Miles kept me updated. She hired a lawyer. Cheap one. He's already trying to negotiate. What's she claiming? That it was a misunderstanding. That she moved the money for safekeeping, and you overreacted. I almost laughed. What now? We wait? Let her lawyer see the evidence. Then we move forward. 2 weeks after I moved out, I left a stack of legal papers on the kitchen counter of our house. I still had my key. The papers were titled Notice of Reversion Estate Claim. I didn't stick around to see her reaction. Tessa stormed into Miles's office the next day. I wasn't there, but he told me later what happened. She'd barged in, demanding answers. What is this reversion notice? Adam can't just take the money back. Miles stayed calm, professional. The inheritance was protected by specific clauses. When funds are misappropriated, they revert to the original beneficiary. I didn't steal anything. That was our money. Actually, Ms. Keene, the court disagrees. We have evidence showing intent to defraud. Her face went pale. What evidence? Miles didn't elaborate. You'll see everything during discovery. She tried to argue, but Miles simply handed her a business card. Have your attorney contact me. She left his office shaking. That afternoon, Shane broke up with her. I know because Miles's investigator tracked his social media. The beach photos were deleted. His relationship status changed to single. A mutual friend told me Tessa had been calling Shane repeatedly, but he wasn't answering. Turns out, Shane only wanted her when she had money. Funny how that works. Over the next month, Tessa's life fell apart piece by piece. Her credit card started bouncing. The landlord of the apartment she'd rented called about missed payments. Her car insurance lapsed. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding. I paid off my credit card with a modest savings I'd kept separate. I went to the gym. I called old friends I'd neglected. My sister took me out for dinner one night. You seem better, she said. I feel better. What happens next? Court, probably. But Miles says we have a strong case. She squeezed my hand. Dad will be proud of how you're handling this. That night, lying in the guest bed, I thought about my father. How he'd worked 40 years to save that money. How he'd built protections into his will because he loved me enough to worry. He'd known Tessa wasn't right. He'd sensed it somehow. And he made sure I'd be okay. A month after I moved out, something strange happened. A coworker mentioned that someone had applied for a position in our HR department. Some woman says she's single, used to work in dental reception. My stomach dropped. What's her name? Tessa something. She was applying to work at my company, pretending she wasn't married. I said nothing, just went back to my desk. But I couldn't focus. The next day was her interview. I was walking through the lobby, carrying files to the shipping floor, when I saw her. She was sitting in the waiting area, dressed professionally, looking at her phone. Our eyes met across the lobby. Her face drained of color. I didn't stop walking, didn't acknowledge her, just kept moving like she was a stranger. Behind me, I heard her voice, faint and panicked, talking to the receptionist. I need to reschedule. She left before the interview even happened. That evening, Tessa cornered me in the parking lot after work. I just reached my car when she appeared. Adam, please. Can we just talk? I unlocked my car, tossing my bag in the back seat. About what? About us. About everything. I made mistakes, I know, but we can fix this. I turned to face her. She looked smaller somehow, like the confidence she'd always carried had crumbled. You left when you thought you'd won, I said quietly. You took everything my father worked for and ran off with another man. What exactly are we fixing here? I was confused. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to plan it for 8 months. Her eyes widened. How do you? I found the messages, Tessa. All of them. She started crying again. Please. I'll do anything. I'll pay it back. You can't pay it back. You already spent half of it. Then I'll work it off. I'll get a job. Goodbye, Tessa, I said, getting into my car. She stood there, watching me drive away. I didn't look back. Miles called 2 weeks later with news. Tessa's lawyer dropped her case. Why? Once he realized I was representing you and saw the evidence, he bailed. No attorney wants to defend someone caught red-handed. So what happens now? We file a counterclaim. Emotional damages, breach of fiduciary duty, fraud. We're going after everything. How long will it take? Few months, maybe. But Adam, we're going to win this. Tessa tried hiring another lawyer. Then another. Each one reviewed the case and refused to take it. Finally, she showed up to court representing herself. The trial was set for early spring. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Plain walls, fluorescent lighting, a judge who looked tired before we even started. Tessa sat at the defendant's table alone. I sat with Miles, calm and prepared. The judge reviewed the evidence. Bank statements showing the transfers. Text messages between Tessa and Shane. The voicemail where she called the money our safety net. Tessa tried to defend herself. Your Honor, I only moved the money for safekeeping. I never intended to keep it from my husband. Miles stood. Your Honor, the defendant transferred $180,000 to an account solely in her name, fled the state with her boyfriend, and spent over half the money within 3 weeks. This wasn't safekeeping. This was theft. The judge looked at Tessa. Do you have evidence that you intended to return these funds? She faltered. I was going to discuss it with him when I got back. After you'd already spent $90,000? Silence. The judge reviewed more documents. Text messages. Travel receipts. Shane's social media posts. This is fraud, the judge said finally. Clear and deliberate. Tessa's face crumpled. The verdict came 3 days later. The judge ruled in my favor. Tessa was ordered to repay the full $180,000 plus damages, totaling another $25,000 for emotional distress and legal fees. Her accounts were already frozen, empty except for a few $100s. She had no way to pay. What happens if she can't pay? I asked Miles afterward. Wage garnishment. She'll be paying this off for years. We walked out of the courthouse into bright sunlight. I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't realize was there. Miles clapped my shoulder. You did it, man. We did it. That night, a letter arrived at my sister's house. Tessa's handwriting. You'll regret this. I handed it to Miles the next morning. She violated the no-contact order, he said, smiling. She just made things worse for herself. Weeks later, Miles called with an update. Tessa tried to move funds from a hidden account. Triggered another fraud flag. She had another account, a small one, maybe $3,000. She tried to transfer it out of state. The court caught it immediately. What does that mean? It invalidates her claim to any future settlement. She just cost herself everything. I signed the final paperwork that afternoon. The estate was fully reverted to me. Every dollar accounted for, minus what she'd already spent, which she now owed back through garnishment. It was over. I used part of the recovered money to buy out Tessa's share of the house. She signed the paperwork without argument, desperate to cut any remaining ties. The house felt different after she left completely. Empty, but not in a sad way. More like a blank canvas. I repainted the bedroom, tore out the carpet, and refinished the hardwood underneath. Planted flowers in the front yard, something I'd always wanted but Tessa said was too much work. My sister helped me pick out new furniture. Nothing expensive, just comfortable. Mine. Spring came, and with it, a sense of starting over. A woman in my department, Quinn, had started saying hello in the break room. Casual conversation, nothing heavy. She made me laugh. One day, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee after work. I said yes. Quinn was different. Calm, honest, no games. She worked in quality control, had been with the company for 6 years. We'd never really talked before. Over coffee, she asked, "So what's your story? I heard you went through something rough." I gave her the basics. My wife left and took my inheritance. We're divorced now. That's awful. It was. But I'm doing better. She smiled. You seem like you are. We talked for 2 hours. About work, family, stupid movies we loved. It felt easy, natural. When I drove home that night, I realized I hadn't thought about Tessa once. 3 months later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Adam. Tessa's voice, small and desperate. What do you want? I'm being evicted. I don't have anywhere to go. Can you help me? Please. Part of me, a small part, felt sorry for her. But the larger part remembered the empty account, the note on the counter, the wedding ring left behind like trash. I hope you find peace, Tessa, I said quietly. Adam, please. I hung up. Miles called later. She reached out. Yeah. You okay? I'm fine. Actually, I really am. And I meant it. Sunday morning, I drove to the cemetery where my father was buried. I hadn't been in a while. I sat by his headstone, pulling weeds that had grown around the edges. Hey, Dad, I said quietly. I wanted to thank you for protecting me, even when I didn't know I needed it. For trusting Miles. For being smarter than I was. The wind rustled through the trees. Tessa's gone. The money's back. And I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I told him about Quinn, about the house renovations, about feeling like myself again. You taught me to be careful, to think ahead. I forgot that for a while. But I won't forget again. I stood, brushing dirt off my jeans. The sun was breaking through the clouds, warming everything. As I walked back to my car, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a better life and leaving the past where it belongs. Behind you.